Hello, welcome back to Founder on Flights. I'm so happy that you're here. Today is going to be a really fun episode. I'm going to tell you about one of the longest, most insane travel days that we have had. I think with travel, there's a lot that comes up. Even if you're going on a quick little trip or a vacation, it's very easy to have a crazy travel story. Now make it something that you do every day all the time. It's inevitable. You definitely get really good at just quick solutions, jumping in and figuring out, what do we do now? And then on top of that, if you put on the restrictions of, I need to have Wi-Fi, I maybe have meetings, I have things that I need to do within my business that require us to not be stranded outside right now. So yeah, there's definitely lots of things that can happen. And this story is specifically just like a really long sequence of things going not our way. So I'll take you all the way back to 2022. We were in Mexico and it was the weekend before my birthday. And so we were also planning on leaving Mexico, or leaving, Puerto Escondido, which is where we had been staying for a while. And on our way to Oaxaca, which was our next destination, we decided to spend the weekend in Chicagua, which is it's like, I think, an hour or two out of the city of Puerto Escondido, where it's like kind of a main city. It's not really a city, but there's a lot there, and Chicagua is farther away. It's kind of like an island off of the coast, and it's very secluded. There is no cell reception, or hardly any. There's very little to do. It's like we spent the weekend at the beach and eating food. Literally, that is all. And I guess I can actually say the sequence of events kind of started there. As soon as we got there, we knew there wasn't going to be any cell reception. But immediately when we got there, my phone also just decided to completely turn off, to the point where I thought it was broken. Like, it wouldn't turn on, it wouldn't work. Not only did I not have service, there was no Wi-Fi, but I couldn't even take pictures. It also is a little bit eerie because I don't have a whole lot of footage from that time. And it's just funny because we have a lot of photos and videos from before and after and just all of our time in Mexico. But that weekend is this weird twilight zone. It was to celebrate my birthday. So of course, we just hung out by the beach. We ate food. We would go back to the beach. I spent all day in the sun. And the next day I actually woke up so swollen, incredibly swollen, that Jason needed to go buy me anti-inflammatory something. I don't even remember what it was. We honestly did not even understand it, but the lady at the pharmacy was like, yes, this is what you need. I can input a photo here if you're watching the video, because this was it seriously looked like I got lip injections, but it was just an incredibly bad sunburn. So that's actually important, because that means that the rest of our time there, I could not be in the sun. Even just if I was in the shade, but the sun was only being blocked by a cloth, the heat of the sun was so painful. I could not put my clothes on and off. I couldn't sit down because it was on my butt. I couldn't lay down because it was on my back. It was so incredibly painful. I literally stayed inside for the rest of the weekend and then only went out at night. It was insane. But honestly, so worth it for that one day of just total so this is a side note, I do hypnotherapy for business and letting go of things and all of that for entrepreneurship. And they always say, okay, go to your happy place. That's where I go. In my mind, I go to Chicago because that was just a dream come true of a day. So yeah, we were leaving 2 days later. I think it was day 2 or 3 of my sunburn. So it was still very painful, but I could move. And mind you, we also have our cat during all of this, and we were leaving. So we had all of our stuff. So we were carrying all of that, and this is an island. And so to leave our shack, basically, where we were staying, we first had to take a truck where we all just get in the back, and then we picking up people along the way, people who are going to work, people who are leaving the island, everybody. I have my cat, I have our backpack, Jason's carrying some of our stuff. And then we finally get to this one area where now you board a boat, which is just stressful in general, especially with a cat. She did really good. It was just loud. And yeah, we're it's bumpy. And then from there, we're taking a car to basically back to the main city. So all of that was mostly okay, but I'm doing it with backpacks on my horrible sunburn. Then we get back to the city. We go to the bus because now we have to take an overnight bus to Oaxaca. And we get there. At this point, we didn't have any transportation set. Nothing was really planned. Our plan was to figure it out there. And when we got there, they said that the bus wouldn't leave for like 6 hours. I think actually, you know what? Our plan wasn't to take an overnight bus. It was actually to leave as soon as we got back so that we would get there before nighttime. And that didn't happen. They said we only have a van available at night. And so we had to figure out somewhere to hang out for the rest of the day. This was like morning to midday. Luckily, the hostel that we had been staying at for the past month was really sweet. And so we just hung out in their like community room with our cat and basically spent the next like 6 hours finding a place that we were actually going to be sleeping at and waiting out for the bus. So this was in the main city, Centro, and we were, just chilling with our stuff. But the saddest part is Solana was familiar with this place. But because we had already checked out of our room, we weren't able to go back in our room. We were just hanging out in the community area. And that room had become her home, her safe space over all this time. And she doesn't know that we can't go in there. So this is like one of those like sad cat mom moments. She was standing in front of the door just crying and begging us to let her in, and we just kept having to tell her no. I was hoping that whoever like moved in there would come out so she can see like it's not ours. I don't know, but even then, honestly, she would probably rush in because that wouldn't make sense to her. So it was a really sad, hard few hours just because she didn't understand, and that was annoying for her. And obviously, like, I don't want to make things harder for her. But everything was okay. Time passed. Finally got to the time where we were going to be boarding the van soon. So we went out, got some tacos, got ready. We had our Dramamine ready for the ride and got settled. So we walked over to the like bus van area and we boarded the van. I think it was already pretty full at this time, which is always a bummer because you want to get the best seats. So we were kind of in the front, which is good, but we were behind people. So we put our big bags in the back. I'm sitting near the window, Jason's on the aisle seat, and I have Solana on my lap. These are really small seats. The people in front of me, I could like put my hand out and touch their chair. And then I also had this like huge cat backpack on me, and I opened that so that she could have space in the backpack so she didn't feel squished. So now I'm squished. I think Jason has another backpack. So it's not comfortable. It's also dark, the idea is that you want to go to sleep. We're waiting to start driving, and immediately the people in front of us, seats all the way back. And they did not want to put them up. So that's always kind of, I feel like, the first telltale that you're like, okay, well, that's the time we're about to have. We were no strangers to uncomfortable situations, especially while traveling. You got to find a position that feels good, get what you got to get, and just make it work. What I did not expect was for these roads to literally be a full-on zigzag. A full zigzag for like, I don't know, 6 hours. If you have ever driven through a canyon, like, times it by 5. Because, oh my God, it's a van, it's going fast, there's a lot of people, it's dark, I have a cat on my lap, we're just whipping around the corners. And so it was triggering my motion sickness. I think both mine and Jason's, but mine was way worse. We kept stopping for the bathroom, but it was kind of like on the side of a road, and there was like just random people there, and it was dark out. So I just never really wanted to get out. Didn't feel, it was kind of sketchy. And getting out would also mean repositioning Solana and having to deal with that. At this point, I think honestly she was getting like some motion sickness from it. So we pull out the Dramamine, and I'm ready to take that because I cannot take this anymore. And mind you, we're driving and we're going zigzag. So I put the pill in my mouth, which, by the way, if you've ever had Dramamine, that tastes disgusting. Not that I was trying to taste it, but I hadn't had water in my mouth yet. I pull out the water to take a drink to get this pill down. I'm already like gagging because I'm so like car sick. And I'm like trying to open the water, and I don't know what happened, but the water fell out of my hand and rolled to the back of the bus. And I hear it, blum, 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 like fully to the back. Everyone's asleep, so there's no way that I'm getting that back. So now I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not only car sick, feeling nauseous, already just uncomfortable, and my one like chance to make this feel better just rolled to the back of the bus. So now I have this dry pill that I'm sorry, this is probably gross, but that I'm having to swallow. And yeah, so that was just horrible, like the absolute worst experience. And then hours are passing and we could not sleep. We're not comfortable. It's a tiny space. We're like trying to lean on each other and I think at this point I had opened Solana's backpack so she could kind of like, readjust. Probably like 6 hours later, we arrive at 5 a.m. And so we finally exit. We are so grumpy. I am just not happy at this point. I want to get to our bed. I want to figure out what's going on. Like, I just need to sleep. We look at the check-in and it literally says we have to check in at like 10 in the morning, and that just sets everything off. I'm just like, this cannot be my reality right now. We are at like the parking lot for cars. I don't know if the van was like staying there, if it was going somewhere else, but there's a lot of cars. I think the taxis normally park here. We're gathering our things. We're trying to figure out what our next steps are, and Jason picks up the GoPro with something else and completely drops it, and the screen shatters. Which obviously, like, that sucks, but not the worst thing in the world. But you can just imagine, after all of the things that had been happening this whole weekend, and after that horrendous car ride that we had right after the long commute from the island, like, we had nothing left in us. And thank God for his patience as well, because he still was able to figure it out, contact our Airbnb, and move up our check-in time so that luckily we were able to go sooner rather than later. I think it was like 2 hours. So we ended up getting a taxi, getting to the Airbnb, by the way, as a bonus, was up like, I don't even know, 100, 200 steps. It was huge. It was so high up there for no reason. So we finally get there, and I went to sleep for literally 5 hours. So we didn't even start our day till midday, which obviously, like, I don't think I would have been able to do anything else. Oh my gosh, but it finally concluded the worst travel day I have ever had. It's just wild how when you're traveling, it just like amplifies everything that's happening if something goes wrong, because you don't have anything that you're familiar with. You're not familiar with the area, sometimes not the language. You don't know how the systems work, so you don't know what to expect or what you can expect. And especially when you're traveling full time, so you don't have like a home to go back to. If one thing goes wrong, it's not just, oh, this like plan is messed up. It's our entire well-being needs to be adjusted, because where are we sleeping tonight? Where are we gonna get food? Like, it's so much more intense, I feel like. But it is experiences like these that inevitably build your character. After you've survived something like that, it just gives you this sort of confidence of like, okay, yeah, I can figure anything. Everything is figure outable. Like, everything is figure outable. You've made it here. You can make it wherever. So it definitely gives you a sort of confidence to really just take on any challenge. And on top of that, it really matters who you're traveling with, because that could have gone one of two ways. And Jason and I really work well together in stressful situations, especially when traveling. We've traveled all over the world together, and we just really complement each other. I think, that was probably the worst place that we've been in. Energy wise, we were both extremely exhausted and probably hungry. Maybe we argued about this or that, but we just come together in a way that's really needed in those situations. And that could not be the case if you are traveling with someone who doesn't know how to cooperate and really step up in those situations. That's so valuable and so necessary, especially in this lifestyle. As an entrepreneur and as a traveler, you need a good partner if you have a partner. I'm really grateful that we were able to figure all of that out. I have to say that was not any sort of sign for the trip that we were about to have in Oaxaca because, again, we had just moved there right before my birthday. So the next day or 2 days later was my birthday, and we had gone out to eat. We were exploring the town. First place that we got breakfast at, the owner was actually there and did this whole thing because it was my birthday, gave us some shots and like celebrated, and we had the most sweet welcoming to the city after that. Spent the day exploring and shopping and loved Oaxaca. But it's bound to happen. You have to do your fair share of bad travel days. It's inevitable, and if you haven't had one yet, bless you, and it's on its way. And I think it's such a sign, honestly, when I think back to those times and I'm like, yeah, I would do that again. I think that tells you a lot about the life that you're living and if you're doing what you should be doing, if even on the hardest days you love what you're doing. I'm honestly really grateful for this podcast too, because as I'm reflecting on a lot of these things, it's forcing me to process some stuff and reflect on it in ways that I might not have before because so much time has passed. And yeah, I'm like learning things as I'm talking about it here with you. So thank you for listening. And honestly, I would love to hear if you have crazy travel day stories. And I would love to share it with the audience too, because I think that these can be so insane. The bad travel stories that I've heard are just so mind-blowing, and you don't get it. Like when you hear it, it's like, no way. Like how I hear these and I'm like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. But somehow you just figure it out. So if you have a similar story where everything just went wrong while you were traveling, please DM it to me on Instagram. And on that note, thank you again so much for listening. I'll have everything linked in the description, and I would love to hear your voice. Let me know in a review or in a DM what you think of the podcast, what you want to hear from me, and just how you're doing. Thanks so much for listening. See you on the next one.